if we could begin publishing Exhibit 9, please. And I believe we're paused at 7 seconds. At this point, you can see, and I'm going to place a circle around the officers. You see them there?
Yes.
And are those the people that you saw interacting with the person you now know to be Mr. Floyd?
Yep.
And your first interaction that you noticed was actually across the street by the Dragon Walk, is that right?
Yes.
Now, as Mr. Floyd's being taken over the car, I think that we will soon hear your first recording. So if we can resume play.
Always some shit going on over there.
After you made that short recording, and that was you, I suppose, narrating.
Yes.
Okay. After you were narrating that portion, you continued to watch.
Yes.
Now, at this time, Ms. Euler, did you notice any bystanders, anybody in the street?
No.
We're going to be approaching 8:16 and 30 seconds. Ms. Euler, were you continuing to watch the events as you were working the cash register at Speedway at this time?
I believe so, yes.
All right, now we've paused at about 8:17, and at some point, did you notice some other police officers arrive on the scene?
I think so.
Well, let's resume play here. Okay, and let's pause. Now, at this time, I'm showing you two other individuals who are joining the first two officers that you saw. You noticed those?
Yeah.
And what did you see those two officers do after they arrived?
I don't remember.
Let's continue. From your vantage point inside the Speedway, were you able to hear anything outside?
No.
right, let's pause here for a moment, and we're at 8:18 and 10 seconds. Now, as best you can, describe for the jury what you recall seeing the officers do with Mr. Floyd prior to getting to this point.
Before this point?
Before this point, for example, did you see Mr. Floyd get into a vehicle?
Like off of what we just watched?
What do you recall seeing with Mr. Floyd and the squad car just before we get to this point?
Like when they drag him out?
Okay. All right, let's resume. Now we're paused at about almost 8:19. I asked you previously about bystanders and noticing bystanders. At some point, as you made these observations, did you see a crowd of bystanders gather?
Not till like after.
After what?
Like after they did yeah.
Okay. So at this point, you're not seeing a crowd either in the immediate area or across the street at the Speedway?
I'm trying to remember. I don't remember.
Okay. Well, let's resume play. No, you can keep going. I'm going to pause here. And this is at 8:20 and 20 seconds. Can I ask you some questions about some people, again, some bystanders in the area? Do you know who this person in the lower left corner wearing sandals and shorts and a black shirt is?
No.
Don't recognize him, never seen him before?
No.
Do you know the person in the dark shirt, hooded sweatshirt, and the blue pants?
No.
You never met her before either?
No.
Okay. Or how about the child behind her in the green shirt?
No.
Not familiar with her either?
No.
Okay. If you please resume. pause for a moment here. Do you recognize that person, that officer? Do you recall seeing an officer interacting with a group of bystanders who would later gather?
I think so.
Can you physically describe that person as best you can remember?
I don't really know. It's been so long.
Do you recall previously talking about a bald police officer?
I think in one of my videos I was talking to a person.
Okay, a bald officer. Do
Yeah.
you recall as you sit here today what the bald officer did?
I think he was like yelling at people. Like before or after this.
Do you also recall describing a tall officer?
Yeah.
What did the tall officer do?
I think he was like, I don't remember. There's so much.
Let's resume play.
There's always some shit going on.
Pause for a moment. Now, what we heard there that was imposed at the same time as the surveillance video was your second recording. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
And again,
Yes.
that was your voice when you said there are always some...
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Had you continued to watch these events out the window that entire time?
Did I watch it out like outside?
From inside?
I think I went outside to smoke a cigarette.
All right, I'm going to ask the play to resume and ask you to pay particular attention to your video on the right side, okay? Freeze. Yeah, go a little bit further. Stop. All right. Now, showing you what appears to be a reflection.
Mm-hmm.
Recognize that?
Yeah.
Who's that?
That's me.
Okay. So that's you recording the events reflected in the window, correct?
Yep.
So based on that, would you agree that you were inside the speedway at the time this particular recording was made?
Yes.
Resume, please. Pause. Now, can you please explain to the jury why did you continue to record what you were seeing here?
Because I always see the police, they're always messing with people, and it's wrong and it's not right.
I'm going to then direct your attention to the right side of the screen as well. You say that you briefly turned your camera away from the officers in the squad car towards the area that's right by the Dragon Walk. Is that right?
Yeah.
And can you tell the jury what you see here?
I see people standing there, but that's not why I shifted the camera.
Can you explain why you shifted the camera?
Because that's where it started from.
Okay, so when you say that's where it started from, I think your description initially was that there were some officers who were, to use your words, messing with Mr. Floyd.
Yep.
Okay, and this is the area in which they were messing with Mr. Floyd?
Yep. When it started.
I'd like to resume play again, please. Let's pause for a moment, and you can see that your that would have been your second recording has stopped. And at this point, we're continuing to watch the surveillance video. Please resume. We could freeze here. Let it go just a little further. Stop. All right. So again, I've already asked you about some of the people in the crowd, and you said you didn't know them. I want to add some of the folks. There's a person in a white T-shirt. Do you recognize that person?
I don't know that person.
You've never seen that young woman before?
Not before like this.
Okay. And then I think walking by, I don't know if you noticed, there was a couple with a child. Had you ever seen them before?
No.
Okay. And then there's a gentleman here in a dark hooded sweatshirt. Had you ever seen that person before?
No.
Please resume. Now, at some point, you indicated that you'd gone outside of the store to smoke a cigarette. Is that right?
Yep.
You continue to watch these events unfold as you were outside of the store?
Yep.
As you were watching from outside the store, did you see any of the bystanders interact with police officers?
I think they were like yelling at each other. I don't really know what they said. I was kind of too far away.
Couldn't make out any specific words?
No.
Do you recall seeing a woman with a black shirt and a white headband?
No. This was like a year ago, a long time ago.
Go ahead and resume. All right. If you could pause. All right. I'd asked you about seeing a woman with a black shirt and a white headband. I'm wondering if now looking, if this refreshes your memory at all about this person.
No.
All right. From outside, then, at your vantage point, outside of the Speedway, you began what is now your fourth recording, and I think for the record, that starts at about was it 8:25:26? Please resume.
What happened?
Oh no! I know that the tall dude that's leaning on his feet, they had him in the other side of the car, and then he pulled him out on the ground.
You could pause for a moment. Right. Whose voice was that?
That was mine.
Okay. And were you describing to someone who was standing next to you what you just witnessed earlier?
Yeah.
Okay. If you could resume, please. seems that you've spent a lot of time watching this encounter,
Yeah.
and you were continuing to occasionally record.
Yeah.
Okay. If you could resume, please. If you could pause. Did you hear that ambulance in the background?
Mm-hmm.
At some point, do you recall an ambulance actually arriving?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. As best you can remember, can you describe what you saw after the ambulance got there?
I think the person was going on a stretcher.
If we could resume, please. If you'd stop. And at this point, you can see that the ambulance has arrived, and there's a ambulance worker coming out of the passenger side of the vehicle. Is that right?
Yeah.
In the time that you've been watching up to this point, did you see this individual ever get up from the first position he was in when he first went down?
I don't remember.
Please resume. Stop. All right. So you see that the street camera has now changed positions. Is that right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
do you recognize that person?
That's me.
That's you. Okay. So that's you, and you're holding your cell phone.
Yep.
And that's you recording, so we can give the jury a good idea of where you were at the time you were taking that footage. Okay. And that's when the ambulance arrived. You continued to observe. Please resume. Do you ever personally observe the officers get up off of George Floyd?
I don't think so. I think no.
If you could pause, back up about 2 seconds.
I think I was more so like I was recording it, but I was also like trying not to get hit by the cars coming in the gas station.
All right, understood. All right, if you could resume then, please. If you can pause, you can see the stretcher is fully out here. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then I want to draw your attention again to the last officer closest to the head of the individual on the ground. Did you see him change position at this point?
No.
Okay, please resume. Your final recording as Mr. Floyd was taken from the ground, loaded onto the stretcher, and placed in the back of the ambulance. If you could pause, please. And then you see that at approximately 8:29 and 29 seconds p.m., Mr. Floyd is fully placed into the back of the ambulance. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Please resume. And at that point, if you would pause, please, at 8:29 and about 52 seconds, I believe, 52, 53 seconds, you stopped recording. Is that right?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. And you can take that down now. But what did you see after the ambulance pulled away?
There was just a bunch of people yelling and fighting, and I didn't really understand why, but now obviously we know why.
What did you do after you stopped? After you stopped watching outside?
I went back to work.
And that would have been around about 8:30.
I don't remember.
Do you remember when your shift ended?
10 o'clock.
And so you worked up until 10 o'clock.
Yep.
Do you recall what you saw after you left work that day?
Tape. There was a bunch of tape everywhere, and they made me like, instead of going down Chicago to go home, they made me like go around and like down the street, like all the way down, I think like 35th.
Was the scene had crime scene tape around it?
Yeah.
And you weren't able to access it. Did you make another recording of that crime scene tape?
I think I did.
And at this time, I believe we've already received Exhibit 7, and I'd like to publish Exhibit 7, please. Yeah, that'd be good. Well, you know what? I'm almost finished here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if we could just publish Exhibit 7. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's Exhibit 8. All right. If you could pause, please. And Ms. Euler, you described the scene being taped up with crime scene tape and you weren't able to access it. Does it show the area where the crime scene tape was?
Yes.
All right, if you could resume play, please. And stop. All right, and you can take that down. What did you do then after you made that recording?
I went home.
And at some point, you were contacted by police officers, is that right?
Yeah.
They talked to you about what happened, took a statement from you,
Yeah.
and you voluntarily provided the videos to them, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Council's going to have some questions for you, but I think we're going to take a break first.
Let's take our 20-minute break. Let's reconvene at 3:25.